Good evening. Welcome to the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education meeting. It is May 25th, 2021. It is now 7 p.m. Here's your board president, Ms. Shelley Ryan.
Hi, I would like to welcome everyone and call open session in order. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, Dr. Troy?
Right hand over your heart and let's begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. There is nothing to report in closed session. And may I have an approval of the agenda, please? Thank you, Mrs. Chung. May I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Chang. Roll call vote, please, Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Chanlin? Aye. Mrs. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And Jeannie Garamella?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion has been approved for the agenda. Approval of the minutes for May 11th Board of Education meeting. This is an action item.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Chang, for that motion and Mrs. Chung for the second. So we are approving the minutes for May 11th. Next, we have the Board of Education special meeting, which is dated May 17th. May I have a motion to approve these minutes as read? Thank you, Mrs. Chung. Thank you, Mrs. Chanlin. And I am going to roll call for first the May 11th board minutes. Mr. Chang? Aye. Mrs. Chanlin? Aye. Mrs. Chung? Aye. And then, of course, Mrs. Ryan? Aye. Ms. Garamella?
Aye.
Thank you. May 17th special Board of Education meeting minutes. Mr. Chang? Mr. Chang? Aye. Thank you. Mrs. Chanlin? Aye. Mrs. Chung? Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And Ms. Garamella?
Aye.
Thank you. Under public comments, section 7, this is a procedural item. The Board of Education has adopted board policy 9323B. This is to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matter pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have 3 options to submit public comments. First, they may submit through an online form. Second, to request to speak during the meeting via question and answer and phone dial-in. Third, request to speak during the meeting in person through the public comment card. Those who submit through an online form may submit public comments for the open or closed session on May 25th from 11 through 3:30. Comments received during this time will not be read during the meeting, but will be provided to the Board of Education. There was nothing submitted as of 3:30 this afternoon. Next, request to speak during the meeting via question and answer and phone dial-in. During public comment, the meeting will pause for 1 minute to take requests to speak. The raise hand function is used to take requests during the public comment period. For online attendees, press the raise hand icon to add yourself to the queue. For phone attendees, dial 9. The speaking order will be determined based on the order of requests received. Individual speakers will be unmuted and called to speak. You may request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. You will complete the public comment card and submit the completed card to the designated drop box with the assistant to the superintendent no later than when the agenda section, items not on the agenda, in the consent section, and the information action is called on by the board president. There will be opportunities for public comment, and they're offered prior to closed session at the start of the regular open session for items not on the agenda, but prior to consent. Information and action items for matters on the agenda. The Board of Education reserves the right to add a public comment period prior to any individual item on the agenda. 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker, maximum of 20 minutes to each subject matter. However, in the event there are more than 4 speakers on the same subject matter, the board president retains the discretion to adjust, limit the time allocated to each speaker to ensure that all wishing to speak will be heard within the 20-minute allotment. In 7A, we have communications from the audience regarding matters that are not on the agenda but are to be made at this time. This is an informational item. Dr. Choi.
Thank you, President Ryan. We are now pausing the meeting for 1 minute to take requests regarding matters not on the agenda. If you would like to speak on matters not on the agenda, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. And we have 30 seconds remaining. If you would like to make a request to speak on matters not on the agenda, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Okay, President Ryan, we have one request from San Marino Teachers Association. San Marino Teachers Association, your line is now open.
Thank you. I have 2 comments to make. One of them, well, first, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I have to say just off the bat how exhausted I am, how exhausted all of our teachers are. And I'm sure anyone who knows anything about what it's been like teaching this year understands. So that aside, 2 comments. One is I understand that we have a position being flown for band, and that one band teacher is supposed to cover band for 2 sites, build a program, inspire confidence, inspire performance, and earn medals and competitions. It is an impossibility. At our middle school, we've had boosters raise well over $300,000 just for the program at the middle school. We've had elementary PTAs sustain after-school band practice for 5th graders with the hopes that they'd be transitioning into the middle school. And even if it's 1.6 of a position that we can offer, a full-time for someone and a 0.6 for someone else, we need to somehow figure out how to get this done, because having one person going to 2 campuses, packing and unpacking materials, trying to build a program, working weekends, working nights is completely unsustainable. And I know that the budget is tight, but it brings me to part 2. If our district can offer a position for an English language development TOSA, which I also understand is needed because of the responsibility it holds and the need for getting this job done. The district also well knows that that is an unsustainable job. If it is to be placed upon a teacher, but yet we can give it and place it at the district office where you're not in front of children, where you're not on 24/7, where you're not in charge of grades, when you're not in charge of moving children through standards and through the curriculum. I'm sorry if I sound anything other than exhausted. Please, we know parents have worked so hard for Measure E, and they are sustaining their teachers, they are sustaining their schools. We need the district to do the very same thing. Sustain your teachers, sustain them. Please do not heap responsibility after responsibility until it becomes too much and they burn out. I have had teachers crying, teachers visiting the ER, having close to what are nervous breakdowns because of the pressures. And on top of this, we've had 2 years of layoffs and 2 years of trying to figure out who bumps who and for what reason. I understand the need for an ELD person. I also understand that that position has been something that has worked at the district level. I ask that we first fulfill, sustain, fill in all the positions at the sites that meet the needs of our children and our parents, and then look towards positions that can be opened to assist at the district level. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. That concludes the public comments.
Thank you. In 7B, communication from the audience regarding matters on the consent agenda are to be made at this time.
Okay, we are pausing the meeting again for 1 minute to take requests on matters in the consent section. If you would like to speak on matters in the consent section only, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. If you'd like to make a request to speak on matters in the consent section, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. President Ryan, we have no requests.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. Next, we have a consent section. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? This is 8A to 8G.
I'd like to make a motion for consent agenda AA to 8.
Thank you, Mr. Chang and Mrs. Chong. If there's no further discussion, I'd like to do roll call. Mr. Chang? Mrs. Chong? Mrs. Chan Lin? Mrs. Ryan? Aye. Ms. Garamella?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have communication section 9. This is a procedural item, communication from the Board of Education. Let's begin with you, Mrs. Chong.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's worked extremely hard these last couple of weeks. There are graduations and promotions that have never been done before, and plans continue to change, and amidst testing and everything else. And so I really want to extend a huge thank you to the administration, to the principals, to the staff, and to the teachers for digging deeper than they probably even thought they could. It's a testament to San Marino and the teachers and the administration that we have here, as well as our district, who've been able to support them. I think as we look ahead to a lot of the decisions that we have in front of us, it's clear that we really need to start looking with an eye to sustainability and capacity building as we examine what we've done well from this past year and look at what we need to do better on. And we need the support from everyone, internal and external, to be able to accomplish that. I know that even for myself, I can't carry I had a couple of jobs that I took on before I filled this job. And I've been really leaning on everyone to help me carry that weight. And I know that that's the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we really pull together on that task. I engaged in this week for myself on the board. I did another board training. That was great. It was on negotiations and collective bargaining. That was a real eye-opener. That was really fascinating. I never thought so hard before in my life about things I knew nothing about. And I met with a couple other community members. I had one opportunity to meet with some parents from Valentine and Carver who wanted to just learn more about our issues and understand why we're struggling with some of the things we're struggling with and what we could look forward to in the future. And I was really encouraged by their outreach and willingness to engage around those conversations. I want to do a huge shout out to our high school administration. They've been tackling not just the graduation, but the master schedule in anticipation of some of the changes that will be made. And change is hard and difficult and messy. And I think that we all need to be open to having a new way of processing and making decisions that are going to have an eye towards long-term sustainability and capacity building to be more proactive and less reactive. And everybody's going to really have to communicate openly and honestly and compassionately and empathetically as we work through all of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Chang. Mrs. Chanlin, please.
Hi, can you hear me okay? I'd like to thank the community for entrusting me to represent you here on this board. With a heavy heart, I am letting you and my fellow board members know that I cannot continue to serve on this board. I ran on the platform of transparency, accountability, and authenticity, and I still stand for that and always will. When I look at the student board member Vahini, I think of the importance of being an example to students of integrity, ethical behavior, and honesty. I will continue to pray for the future of our children and this district. Tonight, I resign from the SMUSD Board of Education.
Mr. Chang.
First of all, May 19, I attend the comedian. So I congratulate those senior students that became the comedian, including our student board, Bahini Bravindera. Congratulations. Secondly, as you know, our CTO, Dr. Cho, is already make an arrangement with Albertson. So we will start to do a vaccination for our age 12 students. So there are 2 days, May 28 and June 18. So I want to give the special appreciation to those already signed up for the volunteer, including some student parents or the kids, the student. Yeah. And lastly, as you know, the last couple of days, you start to see the San Marino School Foundation already distribute the sign. So I like to put the appreciation to San Marino School Foundation trustee and their staff. Yeah, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. Needless to say, I'm, very surprised, Mrs. Chanlin, and want to have an opportunity to perhaps speak with you on that. As we continue with the meeting right now, I want to just kind of congratulate our Prometheans and perhaps one more time read out their names: Hannah Ng, Ray Bear, Sandra Chai, Caitlin Chung, Bahini Garamella, Elise Hong, Luke Jane, William Kiefer, Amelia Kung, Matthew Lee, Caleb Liang, Anna Moeller, Blake Pack, Mia Park, Matthew Snyder, Thayer Tfault. Among these students and in support of them, our administration, Carlos Kassam Clay, Mitch Lehman attended the Promethean breakfast. Elise Hong was our Promethean speaker, and Jason Kurtenbach led the way this year. But without even stating how proud I am of these individuals, I'm also so very proud of our many, many graduates this year who stayed the course during a pandemic in distance learning and now partially in person. I want to maintain that I am supportive of what we are trying to do in the face of all the challenges that are before us. And as well, thank you so much to the parents and to our community for your support through these varied months. In particular, as I heard our teacher representative call in, I am well aware that something has. I am well aware the challenges that our teachers face when we first asked you to do what was not imagined before March in terms of going into distance learning. We asked you to do more to connect with the students and to really focus on instruction and an enriching program. So thank you for calling in and helping us to recognize that we have many heroes in this community, and our teachers and our classified staff and our support staff are among our leaders as well. They are in the front line and they're doing everything in their power to support our students and to sustain this district. So thank you for calling in. Next, we have communication from the superintendent.
Thank you, Mrs. Ryan and Board of Education and staff. So tonight, it is a time to be thankful. You know, we are here the last week of school. It's hard to believe it, but we're here at the last week of school, and you can hear it in Letty's voice. Very much representative of how our teachers and our staff really feel throughout the whole system right now. They're very, very run down, and they've given their all. And I want to start by recognizing staff with my own team here who truly do work 24/7, are never off the clock, are at my beck and call all day, every day, weekends included. And, you know, I want to especially recognize Dr. Delatorre and Judy Carenti over the last, couple of months here, navigating in a very empathetic way a very, very difficult time in the lives of so many of our staff, our teachers and staff, and the endless time, the endless commitment, the endless heart that they put into that. You know, Dr. Richter, I've said this before, she does the work of 7 of the staff I used to have in my former district. The state played a very cruel joke on us this year. You know, I once wrote the LCAP way back in my day. The LCAP's a very difficult document with all the community input and the vastness of it, having to deal with really all the aspects of the school district's plan. She did all that work. She did not emerge from her office. She was always the first one here and the last one to leave over these last several weeks, and has almost got it completely done. 3 plans the state made us do this year, guys, versus 1. And so that's just amazing work. Dr. Choi, it's been well documented over the years, done such a great job, really keeping us safe, out of trouble, really providing us with most up-to-date information. I got to thank our teachers and our staff for working with Dr. Choi and our community members too, through the school reopening task force and the compliance team. You know, as I look out there and hear all the issues that are arising in other districts that we don't have, I really think Dr. Choi was a huge part of that, and the work he's continuing to do to keep us plugged in. You know, you think about it, we pivoted in a moment, and we're not shy about saying our equipment is not as new as some of the districts around us. I know my wife's district recently bought 4,000 more additional Chromebooks just because they had the money to do it. But Dr. Choi and his team have kept us alive in a virtual way and really kept us flowing with relatively few problems. I want to thank our teachers and our counselors, our psychologists, our staffs, our speech language pathologists, all of the wonderful people in our offices who really minister to our kids every single day. And that's a good word to use. I thought about the word to use, and what our on the ground staff does is minister to hurting children every single day. And oftentimes they're hurting and they're not being ministered to. And so, you know, what Ms. Aranda said is right on. I think I surely wish for our teachers and our staff a really restful summer where they can refresh and get ready for next year. And I'm looking forward to 100% back in person next year, and we're looking like it's trending that direction. But thank you to all of our staff, and also for never giving up or giving in over the last 2 years. I mean, it's been a constant pressure. Letty referenced the layoff notifications that seem to be a continuing part of our history right now. And I just want to say you've given your all to help sustain our students, and you've been true partners in ensuring that even when our worst possible things are happening around us, the students are receiving the best possible education. I want to read a letter from Mayor Ken Udy and the City Council, and I'm going to read this letter without comment. And it's directed to Dr. Jeff Wilson, Superintendent, San Marino Unified School District, regarding letter of support for Measure E. Dear Dr. Wilson, on behalf of the City of San Marino, the City Council supports Measure E, which renews the San Marino Unified School District parcel tax. The City Council is generally supportive of locally controlled funding, which does not increase the base tax rate. Revenue from Measure E would be spent locally in San Marino schools and cannot be taken by the state or federal government. In addition, we understand that the district would have to lay off teachers, increase class sizes, and reduce academic, athletic, and art programs if Measure E does not pass. Measure E also requires annual reports to the community and provides an exemption for senior citizens and contiguous parcels. For these reasons, the San Marino City Council supports Measure E. Sincerely, Ken Udy, Mayor.
Thank you.
And I'm not done, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Today, I had a chance to meet for I think the third time with the San Marino Anti-Bias Community Engagement, led by none other than Kelly Ryan, very closely related to this lady here. Both of the chiefs from the city are involved in this, among other city members. PFA is represented, the PTA is represented, Rotary, East Meets West, Chinese Club, SMUSD, of course, and other at-large members. And it was just a great conversation today about next steps. This group is really committed not just to talking about anti-bias issues, but in actually coming up with actionable steps that are community-wide steps. So with regards to the schools and our youth, they're looking for a youth-led event in the fall. And that will be a source of discussion over the summer at the beginning of next year. They want to look at high school students to actually serve on the team. Right now, it's a bunch of adults, Vahini, so we're going to need some students on that team moving into the fall. Perhaps they suggested even the student board representative might be a great candidate for something like that, but we can all talk about that. They want to involve the school counselors in this effort. There was a suggestion made today to possibly coordinate with PTA on Red Ribbon Week around some events. Also a suggestion to identify a couple of high school students who would participate in legislative action days in Sacramento. There's nothing more powerful than student voice when you get to Sacramento. And so that was another suggestion that was made. So I had to get off the call a little bit early, so I didn't get everything, but I want you to know that there's a really great group that's a cross-representation of our community that's working very hard on these issues and is looking for actionable steps moving forward. Two other things. Graduation week is this week. Tomorrow we have Carver, 8:30 and 12 noon. Valentine, Vahini, am I stealing your thunder? Okay, good. We have Valentine Thursday at 10 a.m. Huntington Middle School is Thursday at 5:30 p.m. And of course, our San Marino High School graduation starts at 5 p.m. on Friday evening in the stadium with grad night immediately following. And I just want to make sure that I communicate to the public that we have gone to great lengths to ensure that these celebrations are done in a safe way. To be quite honest, we've received some fairly aggressive responses from a couple of parents who maybe aren't getting their way with what they want. And I want everyone to know that we are following county guidelines and that we have to work together to ensure that our celebrations remain safe. So just an appeal to our community, if you're listening, to make sure that, these can be the greatest events and sometimes they get emotional too. And so we just want to make sure that everybody's following the rules and making sure that we're keeping all of our students and our parents safe. And then just one last thing, reminder to the community members about our board vacancy and possible vacancies. We do have an application online as we speak at our website. There are paper applications also available, and we'll talk about the progression timeline a little bit later in the program here. So thank you very much.
So Dr. Wilson, I just want to hear from you in person. So graduation ceremony is in person, right?
Graduation ceremony is in person, that's correct. Each family, I believe, at the high school gets, is it 4? Okay, 4, as true as at the middle school as well. And I know here at the middle school, it's a little bit harder to control, but they're setting up out on the playground and they're going to do pods of 4 chairs. And so, if any parents have any questions about that, just contact Mr. Topalian's office. Lizette can help them or direct them to where they can get help.
So 4 members, each family applying to high school, middle school, to elementary, right?
Correct. And I believe at the high school it's tickets, right, Bahini, that everybody's getting. And I believe here in the elementaries, it's more of a reservation system. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, anybody? Okay.
All right, Dr. Wilson?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Student board member, Ms. Vahini Caramel.
So a lot of my information will be repeated, my bad. But on the week of May 10th to 14th, Carver hosted their Staff Appreciation Week. Huntington Middle School had class elections for their incoming freshmen at SMHS, and San Marino High School continued AP testing. From the week of May 17th to the 21st, Carver's 5th grade class had Famous American Day, HMS had Disney Day, and the high school continued AP testing as well as had their Promethean breakfast, which I had the pleasure of meeting some board members at. And this week, from the 24th to the 27th, which is the last week of the 2021 school year, Carver is having their 5th grade promotion. Valentine is having 5th grade activities like a virtual hat parade, talent show, movie day, along with their recognition ceremony. HMS is having a class photo day, their annual spirit day, and the 8th grade promotion ceremony. And lastly, San Marino High School is having their finals week, continuing AP testing. They're having their senior award ceremony tomorrow virtually, and graduation and grad night in person on Friday through Saturday. Lastly, I would like to introduce you all to the incoming student board member, Erin de Guzman, since today is my last meeting as a student board rep. Erin is an incoming senior at San Marino High School and a new member to ASB. At school, she's involved in Link Crew to help students become more accustomed to their time in high school. And outside of school, she loves to babysit, volunteer in churches, and paddleboard at the beach. She is definitely an extrovert who engages in a variety of activities, and I know she'll be an amazing addition to ASB and a wonderful student representative to the Board of Education in the 2021 to 2022 school year. I hope you all enjoy getting to know her as much as I did, and I'd like to give Erin a chance to briefly introduce herself.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. And as Vahini said, my name is Erin de Guzman. I am very grateful and excited to be working alongside all of you next year as your next student board representative. Thank you and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vahini, for that introduction. Next, communications from the audience regarding matters on the information agenda are to be made at this time. This is an informational item. 11A, retiree recognition, Dr. Jeff Wilson.
So I'm going to turn, sorry about that.
We'll go ahead and do public comments.
It's over to our Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Linda Delatorre.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
I'm sorry, actually, I believe we need to do public comments regarding information items.
Okay, you got it. Yes, so thank you very much, Dr. Choi.
We'll go ahead and pause for 1 minute to take.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Choi. I keep skipping you. I'm so
No
sorry.
worries, no worries. We're pausing 1 minute to take requests regarding, if you have matters regarding within the information items on the agenda. So if you'd like to make a request to speak regarding items in the information section, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. We have 30 seconds remaining. If you would like to make a comment regarding information items on the agenda, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Okay, we have no requests.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. On that 10, communication from audience regarding matters on the information. Next up, we have information item, retiree recognition. Dr. Jeff Wilson, who will introduce Dr. Linda Delatorre.
Yeah, she's got two very special individuals tonight to talk a little bit about. Thank you, Dr. Delatorre.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson and President Ryan, members of the Board of Education. This evening, we are so very pleased to honor and recognize Mrs. Jean Lips, who has served 40+ years at Valentine Elementary School. Jean has been a wonderful, loyal employee to our school district and has added so much to Valentine Elementary School. She has been just delighted to serve the parents, the students, and the administration at the school, along with the teachers. There have been many ceremonies and recognition opportunities for Mrs. Lips, but I would like to, at this time, ask her principal, Alana Foray, to just say a few brief words on behalf of Mrs. Lips. Alana?
Jean, tonight we honor you. You have served San Marino Unified School District supremely well for the last 45 years. During the years that Jean served as the administrative assistant to the principal at Valentine, she has served the students and families of over 4,000. And she's worked under 8 principals and 4 vice principals. So Jean has seen it all. I count myself very fortunate to have worked with you this year, Jean. Thank you so much for helping me to be successful this year. When I look at you and all of your work, there are words that pop into my mind. And you are one of the most dignified and gracious people I have ever met. I have seen you in so many different situations. And of course, this year, what can we say? It's a situation like none we've ever faced before. And you are unflappable and full of grace. Jean is also the keeper of the torch of many beloved Valentine traditions. It is Jean Lips who taught Laura Pollard all the special dances for the May Day celebration. And those have been going on for the last 30 years and before. Jean is a big fan of Groundhog Day. And every year we'd have Groundhog Sundays. There are just so many, many ways that Jean has been vitally involved in the life of all of those who have worked at Valentine. I just want to thank you, Jean. I'm going to piggyback on a word that Dr. Wilson used, and that is minister. You have ministered to everyone at Valentine so very, very well all these many years, many rotations of different individuals who've come and gone, but you've been so consistent and professional. You've been a consummate professional. And I count myself really fortunate to be your colleague. So now it's time for you to kick back a little bit and minister to yourself, okay? And enjoy your retirement. You will be deeply missed. Thank you for all that you've done for us.
Thank you, Principal Foray. We appreciate those remarks. In honor and recognition of your years of service, Mrs. Lips, the district has put together and purchased this lovely plaque, which will memorialize your years of service, and it has a lovely picture of Valentine Elementary School on the face of it. It will be delivered to your home tomorrow, so you will have this in your possession tomorrow. But on behalf of the Board of Education, the administration, and the entire district, we wish you well in all of your future endeavors. Congratulations on your retirement, and thank you so much for making a difference at Valentine Elementary School. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Chalatorre and Ilana Foray. What an incredible career and under Grace, and I'm sure a lot of pressure, but thank you so much for your service.
Hi, Jean. Thank you so very much for all that you've done. Again, I like to go back to the kids, right? You were always that point of contact when kids came into the office. You were maybe the first face they saw and maybe the last face they saw during the day. And you were there for them for so many years, as Ilana said, with grace and dignity. It's a great way to describe you. And we do appreciate you, and thank you for your years of service.
Thank you. And next, we would like to take this opportunity to honor Mary Prickett, who has served the San Marino Unified School District for 20 years as our talent bank coordinator. So Mary has been responsible for coordinating and facilitating all of the elementary school field trips for the past 20 years. And at this time, I would like to call on Principal Dr. Lynn to say a few brief words about Mary. Dr. Lynn?
Thank you, Dr. De La Torre and governance team. I would like to thank Mary Prickett for her service to both Carver and Valentine. As our talent bank coordinator, I have gotten to know Mary as an efficient and effective professional. Thank you, Mary, for your 20 years of service in our school district. Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you, Dr. Lynn. Mary, we have purchased this beautiful plaque commemorating your service to the elementary schools in San Marino with a lovely picture of Carver Elementary School on the face. And this will be available for you to pick up tomorrow at 10 a.m. If that time changes, please do let us know. But we congratulate you on your well-deserved retirement, and we wish you well on all of your future endeavors. Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Mary, for your years of service. And on behalf of the Board of Education, I want to just extend my gratitude and my deepest well wishes for you for your retirement, but also just thanking you for your years of service at both schools. Thank you.
Yes, Mary, thank you for running just a tremendous program. I remember when I was in Arcadia, I heard about these field trips over here in San Marino, and wow, to safely take our kids out and return them to us and in one piece and happy. I mean, everything I've heard about this last year is everybody misses the field trip. So, so thank you so much for all that you did for us.
Thank you again to both retirees and the honor of those awards. Thank you. Next, 11B, we have PTA, PTSA site presidents. This is a report for the donated funds and volunteer hours and PTA council, the changing of the guard 2021 to 2022 officers. This is an informational item. I would like to call Dr. Jeff Wilson.
Okay, you've heard me say this before, but one of the great pleasures of working in the school district has been my work with the PTA, and just wonderful, wonderful people. These last 2 years and working with the presidents has been so much fun. I'm looking at their faces right now, and that's just great. We had so many good times together, just talking about our schools and our kids and our teachers and all the wonderful things that were happening. So we look forward to this report. Thank you. Catherine Oliveros.
Go ahead, PTA.
So sorry. I swiped off Zoom just as soon as I needed to be here. So sorry. Good evening, board members, district administration, parents, and San Marino community. I am Catherine Oliveros, and it has been my honor to serve as president of San Marino Council of PTAs this school year. The 2020-2021 school year and the global pandemic have been challenging, frustrating, interesting, and rewarding to get through. Virtually every aspect of San Marino PTA has been reimagined since March 2020. The meetings, fundraisers, awards ceremonies, scholarships, reflections, teacher appreciation, family engagement, grad night, and even our PTA directories. Every single person I've had the honor to work with directly or just watch in action has moved through these changes with amazing grace, creativity, and hard work. Even though we were unable to spend much time on school campuses or physically engage with San Marino families, our volunteers still managed to give 44,631 volunteer hours to our schools. I could not be more humbled or proud of our San Marino PTA teachers, parents, and students. Thank you to the remaining school board, Dr. Wilson, Dr. De La Torre, Dr. Richter, Dr. Choi, Mr. Kurtenbach, Mr. Topalian, Dr. Lynn, Mrs. Foray, Letty Aranda, and everyone working to support you all in your roles. You have gone far above and beyond your job descriptions to navigate this year. San Marino teachers, you have been amazing this year. You have stepped up in every way asked to and beyond, and we are so very grateful to you. Thank you to everyone who has pushed through with blood, sweat, and tears. Thank you for not giving up on the work, the district, and especially the students when things became more challenging than we could have imagined. To Helen Spitzer, Allison Moeller, Marissa Kelly, and Becky Watlington, thank you for the amazing hard work you both put in and inspired at your school sites. You have accomplished amazing things that will motivate me for years to come. Because of you and the creative and hardworking council board, my job has been incredibly rewarding and surprisingly relaxing. I will remain to serve as council president for the 2021-2022 school year. And I very much look forward to an exciting reemergence into our school halls with Jennifer Twong as San Marino High School PTSA president, Jackie Twong as HMS PTA president, Erin Clarity as Valentine PTA president, and Huani Shen as Carver PTA president. And now I'd like to turn over to each of the site presidents to give their reports. Thank you so much for your time.
I guess I could go first. Good evening, board members, student board member, Superintendent Dr. Wilson, cabinet members, Jason Kurtenbach, San Marino High School administration, teachers, staff, and fellow parents. My name is Helen Kim Spitzer and has been my honor and privilege to have served as the San Marino High School PTSA president this school year, representing our parents, teachers, and students in PTA's mission, along with the talented members of the 2020-2021 Executive Board. To say that this year has been unprecedented may be an understatement. We knew that there would be challenges and that although we are in the same boat, although we are in the same storm, we're not in the same boat. And therefore, each of us would face unique challenges. Nonetheless, together, we continued the tradition of greatness of San Marino High School, with our key word this year being quote unquote pivot. I am truly grateful for the flexibility, patience, and grace all of us showed each other as we continue to work together in support of each other and the students and teachers. And I'm proud of our two fundraisers at our high school, the parent party, which turned into a restaurant night in support of our local businesses, and a true community fundraiser, not just a fundraiser, the Titan Golf Tournament, which we were able to do in person. Okay, on to some statistics. San Marino High School PTSA reported 14,845 volunteer hours this year. At prevailing wages in California, that would translate to, at $15 an hour, $222,675. Obviously, San Marino High School PTSA did not let a pandemic get in the way of volunteering. I'm pleased to announce that the PTSA allocated $10,150.90 in support of academics, arts, and athletics in the fall, and $100,000 for one FTE position at the high school should Measure E fail. And should Measure E pass, which we all know it will, a classified position at the high school library in support of study period, for a total of $110,150.90. Before I close, I'm going to make a shameless plug for our 2021 grad night scheduled for this Friday, May 28th, as well as the 2020 grad night scheduled for July 2nd. Please give them the support of your donation as well as your gift of time. I know the committees and the students will really appreciate it, and you will be a part of the community hug that we give to each graduating class. Finally, I know San Marino High School PTSA is in good hands with next year's president, Jennifer Chuang. So with this, my last speech of the school year, I say thank you and go Titans.
Thank you, Helen. Can you all hear me? Good. Hi, my name's Allison Moeller, and it was my privilege to be the Huntington Middle School PTA president this past year. And what a year it was. We maintained several of our traditions at the middle school despite the pandemic. For example, we had a virtual Huntington breakfast this last year with lots of people submitting pictures of pancakes and the mayor's spooky house decorating contest. We had our parent party, and meals came to our patrons with meals delivered and wonderful performances from choir and band. We had a movie on campus last week with nearly 200 attendees, and we're looking forward to our 8th grade graduation party on the tennis court after graduation. And in the course of volunteering this year, we logged 7,687 hours. That's a lot of Zoom meetings, let me tell you. And parents were very generous at the middle school this year. We raised what I thought was a surprising amount of money, given the circumstances. And during allocations, we were able to donate $50,000 towards a teacher position should Measure E fail, and nearly $90,000 for next year's needs at the school site. And I tell you, this is what to me is really encouraging, because these are all activities and programs that make us look forward to the future and make us look forward to actually being at the school site, because we are supporting things like transportation for our offsite programs like Wonder Valley and Pally. We're supporting our choral program, sports equipment, and band instruments. So we're all very much looking forward to being back on campus next year. In closing, I wanted to thank my wonderful executive board, all the volunteers at Huntington, Catherine Oliveros for being a wonderful council president. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Daryl Topalian, who was an unfailingly supportive principal, as was Ryan Kachold. And I think you have two gems there at the middle school. And I leave Huntington in good hands with Jackie Schwang and her board for next year. So thank you. It was my privilege to serve as the PTA president at Huntington Middle School, and go Foxes. Thank you.
All right, thank you for having me. It has been my pleasure to serve as Valentine's PTA president this year and collaborate with my fellow presidents, our PTA executive board, and meet so many of our wonderful families. Even during such a challenging year with limited opportunities, our committee chairs persevered and created virtual and drive-through versions of our cherished events to keep our families engaged and support our school, including Book Fair, Pumpkin Patch, Readathon, Jogathon, Holiday Bazaar, Lunar New Year, American Heritage Day, our Magical Spring Fundraiser, Donuts at Dawn, Staff Appreciation Yearbook, and all of our 5th grade activities. Our PTA reported 13,524 volunteer hours. To really capture the spirit of Valentine, please take a moment later on to watch our Historians Year-End video, which is on the front page of our school website. Sorry. With the continued support of our volunteers and Valentine families, we were able to fulfill all of our allocations requests which included $120,000 to fund our enrichment programs and specialists, and a pledge of $100,000 to fund one FTE at Valentine should Measure E fail. None of this would be possible without the visionary and tireless leadership of Dr. Wilson, Dr. De La Torre, district administration, our school board members, past and present, COVID compliance team, school reopening task force, our teachers, staff, and site principals, whose positive outlook and thoughtful foresight set us up for success to keep our schools strong and our students safe. A huge thank you to our Valentine community and our principal, Alana Foray, for working as a team to sustain our programs and for allowing me to help support our school as your PTA president. And to Mrs. Lips, you will be sorely missed and forever admired. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here tonight. My name is Becky Watlington, and I was honored to serve as this year's Carver PTA president. It was, what a year. I've kind of struggled to find words that adequately describe the journey that we've kind of endured together. We've been from tragedy to triumph, and it's been a year that's been like no other. But with that being said, I think I found out through working with our executive board and our volunteers that we're an aptly named group, the pioneers. And pioneers are people who find a way when there's never been a way before. And I have been humbled and truly overwhelmed by the talent and the creativity of our executive board. They've kind of rolled up their sleeves with children underfoot and their spouses working from home and kind of find a way to make all of this happen. And they found a way to engage families and to cultivate community and really just keep a sense of normalcy and all the traditions on the calendar that we love. Thanks to that, in this crazy untold year, Carver volunteers logged almost 8,000 service hours. And thanks to their efforts, we got to enjoy all of our favorite traditions like the book fair and the science fair and Carver Parent Party and the Carnival. And I even feel like we may have come up with a few new traditions that we're not ready to let go of that came up during this year. I just want to thank Dr. Lynn and the amazing teachers and staff that we have. I'm not sure that we'll ever be able to thank them for what they've done for us. They loved and engaged our children as no other educators have had to do before. In a time of global chaos, they gave them calm instruction, intentional routine, and reminded them constantly that they are seen and known and loved. And, they invited us into their own homes daily. They probably saw a few of us running around in our pajamas behind our children, making sure they were on in time. And they handled it very graciously. They welcomed our children back into their classrooms before they were fully vaccinated. And some of us have thrived this year and some of us have barely survived, and those teachers shouldered it all. And the gravity of what they have done for us is not lost on us for sure. And so thanks to everything that happened this year, the Carver families were very, not only generous with their time and their support, but also with their resources. And because of that, we were able to allocate $124,000 to things that we love on our campus, like the library and enrichment programs, as well as health and safety. Our association also approved a guarantee to the San Marino Unified School District for one FTE up to $100,000 should Measure E fail. And as Helen said, that's, the best way to appreciate our faculty and staff is the passing of Measure E. This is one-time money, which would be great, but we know that this is vital to our district. And so I'll give a shameless plug for voting yes for Measure E, and our association is in full support of that. So I'm thankful for our community. I'm thankful for this privilege to have served this year. It was truly a joy. Thank you.
Wow, thank you for that. On behalf of the board and our community, thank you so much to our PTA, our PTSA, all of the site presidents, your report, the donation, the tireless work that you did, all the volunteer hours, and then of course, shouldering also with the teachers all of the responsibility of providing for each of our sites. So thank you so much. And Congratulations on your year of triumph, and I welcome our new officers.
Yes. Once again, ladies, thank you so much. Thanks for being not just a colleague, but a friend to me over this last year, and I'm truly going to miss interacting with you. So thanks for everything you've done.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Next, we have 11C, which is PTA President's update on the gift to the school district. This is an informational item. Dr. Jeff Wilson.
Yes, so once again, I invite Catherine Oliveros to provide a report to the Board of Education. I think we heard the individual sites. So Catherine, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, thank you again for the time. As you just heard, but I will summarize. For San Marino High School, we were able to allocate $100,000 towards a position restoration. At HMS, they allocated $50,000. Valentine allocated $100,000, and Carver allocated $100,000 for a total of $350,000 towards resending pink slips for the 2021-2022 school year should Measure E fail. I cannot stress enough to our community that these monies will only restore positions for one school year, and our district and children need Measure E to pass if we want long-term stability for our teachers, counselors, and staff. So please support our schools on June 29th. Thank you.
Thank you for advocating for our children and for all of your support. This is incredible. Thank you. Nick.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the PTAs for that money. That was not easy to come by money this year. I served with the PTA for the first, on the executive board at Carver, and there were a lot of conversations around how to be responsible and how to be wise stewards of the monies that are entrusted to the PTAs from the parents that work very hard to donate it and to collect it. And I just want to say thank you for that, because I don't think this is even, this is going above and beyond what PTA normally allocates for. And that's a huge sacrifice. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for all of your support for our sites and for our staff. Next, we would like to begin with a resolution. This is 11D for our student board member in recognition. Resolution 19 for student board member. This is a resolution for service to the San Marino Unified School District as student board member. Whereas Vahini Garimella has served as student board member during the 2020-21 school year, and whereas Vahini Garimella has made a unique and significant contribution to the deliberations of the Board of Education through her participation, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the San Marino Unified School District commends and extends appreciation to our student board member, Vahini Garimella. So with that, I'd like to invite you up. You want to present? Come on up.
You want to here or you want to? Okay. So Vahini. Oh. Mrs. Ryan, you're going to have to say something since my microphone no longer works. On behalf of the staff and on behalf of Mrs. Ryan here as school board president, we recognize the significant contribution you made to not just our school board meetings, but to our district overall. You have caused us to rethink things, to consider deeply the impact that decisions have on students. And that's exactly what a student board member should do. So you've done a great job. We're going to miss you. you can be very proud of your service to the school district. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure being on the board, well, being the student representative.
How was for you?
Oh,
Thank
You stand in the
Beautiful.
middle, stand kind of just
Yes.
Thank you. It's truly been my pleasure. It's been great working with all of you. And I will be local for college, so I will definitely be checking in on these board meetings from time to time.
Tell us again where you're going to college.
USC.
I'll say it. All right, fight on.
I know, fight on. Thank you. Thank you.
go ahead.
Thank you so much.
you,
Thank you
Mr.
for being
Chang.
so patient with me the first half of the year.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. And so with that, I want to wish you a very successful first year at school, and please come back and visit us and join us in our meetings if you start to miss being on the board.
Thank you so much, President Ryan, will do.
All right, so your parents must be so proud. So with that, we're so proud to have you on. Next up, we have 11E board vacancy. This is a process update and informational item. Dr. Jeff Wilson.
Testing. Okay, good. You can hear me. Well, so I'm going to walk you through a report that was prepared prior to the Mrs. Chan Lin's announcement of her resignation from the board. And to be honest with the board, I will have to be on the phone first thing in the morning to see how these processes will be parallel. But going through a timeline real quick, the next slide, Dr. Choi. On May 11th, Mr. Barbary announced his resignation from the Board of Education. On May 12th, he submitted his resignation letter to the county superintendent through me. And Mrs. Chandler, I'm happy to assist you with that as well and give you some direction on that. And we can talk tomorrow about that. So on May 17th, we had a special meeting of the Board of Education. We met with Dr. Allison Deegan of LACO to establish a process and timeline for a provisional appointment. May 18th, the vacancy was announced through the media, also through our constant contact, and the application period opened at 12 noon. On June 4th, the application window will close at 12 noon sharp. That's 17 days of open. June 7th, right now we have a special open session at 3 p.m. to screen applications for eligibility. And after that meeting, we anticipate the board will identify names of applicants who are eligible. The following morning, June 8th, the names of the applicants would be provided in written form to the community at 8 a.m. via constant contact. And then that evening, the regular Board of Education meeting at 7 p.m. to discuss the candidate names and to receive public comment. On June 10th, a special meeting on Thursday, June 10th, candidates will be interviewed by the board at a special Board of Education meeting at 5 p.m. The goal would be to announce a provisional candidate or candidates at that special Board of Education meeting, and then swear the candidate or candidates into office to serve the remaining term. The first would be through December of 2022, with the second to be through December of 2024, although That may change based on the length of the term, and I'll be getting back to the board with that. So this really does reference Mr. Barbary's resignation in the first process. There's a footnote there. I just want to make sure the public understands that the board is providing multiple public comment periods June 7th, 8th, and 10th. We really want your input. We really want your involvement, including prior to and immediately following the interviews. So just real quick, we went through this last time, but just to be eligible to serve on the board according to Ed Code 35107, candidates must be 18 years of age or older, a citizen of the state, a resident of the school district, a registered voter, and not disqualified by the Constitution or the laws of the state from holding a civil office. And that would satisfy eligibility. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, but I wanted to give the board some protocols, some proposed protocols and possible scenarios for questions, but I'm not gonna read through it all. I'm gonna give you that opportunity to do so at length. There's the opportunity in the interview to just have a candidate statement only. There is a process where each candidate would be given a set time limit and they would be given a singular question, something like what makes you the ideal candidate to be provisionally appointed to the board. Another protocol or possibility would be a candidate statement with a limited number of questions, like one question per board member. A third possible protocol, standard interview questions with perhaps 2 questions per board member. And then a fourth possibility, perhaps standard interview questions, perhaps 1 per board member with 1 or 2 hypothetical or practical situations. And then of course 5 is other, if the board has a preference. And I wanted to give this to you in advance, so it'd be a topic that you would discuss on the 7th when you're screening applicants. Then moving on to the next slide, I've provided the link, so board members, will be posted to the agenda. You can go live to this document if you click on the link there. But CSBA has an entire, basically, workbook on filling board vacancies, and these questions come out of that document. I'm gonna let you read those on your own time. And then CABE, I found this to be quite useful. Connecticut Association of Boards of Education also has quite a list of questions that you might want to consider for a interview process. And there's others out there too. And then CSBA, back to CSBA, this is how you would evaluate candidates as they come through. These are suggestions from the California School Board Association. And again, you can read through that on your leisure. I like have a sense of humor, that's a good one. And so these would be evaluating the candidates as you hear their interviews. And that's it. So any questions or comments from the board?
Thank you so much, Dr. Wilson. Mrs. Chong has a question.
I'm sorry, you said that this was going to be linkable from the agenda today, right?
Yeah, if Ms. Delatorre has got it on there already? Okay, yes.
Okay, great. So I wanted to encourage the community at this point then to look at this, because there are a lot of questions that we as a board are going to have for candidates, but we also need guidance from the community and input from them about what are the important things they want to ask as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we're asking everything, but what are going to be sort of the important points. So I would encourage everybody to really look at that and consider what are going to be some of the important criteria that we as a board should be thinking about. And then if I understand correctly, then we're looking to make some decisions on the 7th then about what our process and protocols will look like, which may be altered by the addition of an additional vacancy, right? Okay.
Yeah, and I will be working on that immediately to get to the board the information regarding that. I do believe it's going to be a slightly different process though.
Yeah, especially considering it's a different term altogether.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you for putting this together.
Any other questions or comments, Mr. Chang?
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. 11F, this is a student vaccination clinic. It's a COVID information item. It's an update. Dr. Stephen Choi.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board, student board member Vahini, and executive team. We are very excited to host our first on-site COVID-19 vaccine clinic this coming Friday, May 28th at the Barth Athletics Complex at Huntington Middle School. The district, in partnership with Albertsons, is offering individuals ages 12 and over the opportunity to receive the Pfizer vaccine. We promoted this event to our parents, eligible age students, and the SMUSD community via email, text messages, and app notifications. I encourage anyone who may still be interested in receiving the Pfizer vaccine to please visit our district homepage and schedule an appointment. I want to conclude by giving a special thank you to both Mrs. Krishna Rao and Mrs. Allison Champon for helping us connect with Albertsons. I also want to thank the 80 volunteers that signed up to make this event possible, many of whom happen to be our students. We hope that as more of our students and families get vaccinated, the safer we will all be. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. 12, communication from the audience. This is regarding matters that are on the action agenda, and they are to be made at this time. Dr. Choi.
Sound check. Thank you. Thank you, President Ryan. We will pause the meeting for 1 minute now to take requests for matters in the action items part of the agenda. If you would like to speak regarding an action item on the agenda, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Thirty seconds remaining. If you would like to make a comment regarding action items on the agenda, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Okay, President Ryan, we have 2 requests. First one is from Ms. Lisa Davidson. Lisa, your line is now open.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Woohoo! Okay, I just think our PTA is amazing. I want to thank you for your support. You know, not only do you give us donuts and food and supplies, but now you've given us back a teacher and several teachers across. And I just really, really, really want to express how much your support is appreciated and welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Next, we have San Marino Teachers Association, Lisa Aranda, Letty Aranda.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. I would simply like to also express gratitude, sincere gratitude for our San Marino Schools Foundation, for how gracious they have been, how lovely they have been in encouraging people to give, in inspiring others to sustain our school district and our teachers. And I'd also like to thank the lovely women of our various PTA organizations, and Ms. Catherine Oliveros. We are so in awe of your goodness and your kind love. You know more than most because you're in the classroom. Besides the teachers and the children, you're in the classroom more than most. And you know that teaching is not just a profession, it is truly an act of love. And every penny earned, every encouraging word, every plead has gone a long way to nurture the hearts and heal and provide some hope. You are incredible, and how lucky and blessed we are to have so many wonderful people who make up what San Marino is. And we're thankful for being able to serve by working with your children and young adults. And simply put, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. With that, that was communication from the audience regarding matters that are on the agenda. These are the coming up are the action items. 13A, rescission of layoffs for some certificated. This is an action item. I'm asking Dr. Linda Delatorre to present for me.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Student Board Member Vahini, executive team, and of course, Dr. Wilson. This evening, we are requesting that the board give district staff approval to rescind the number of layoff notices that is commensurate with the $350,000 pledge that the PTA gave contingent upon the failure of Measure E on June 29th, 2021.
Are there any discussion? Yeah, yes.
I move to approve the action item of the rescission of layoffs for some certificated employees.
Thank you, Mrs. Chung. May I have a second, Mr.? Thank you, Mr. Chang. All right. Are there any further discussion? All right. Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Challen, you'll have to recuse yourself.
Okay, I recuse myself.
All right, Mrs. Chung?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. Student board member?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, 13B, proposal 2021-22 Board of Education meeting. Dr. Jeff Wilson, this is an action item. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve proposed dates for their regularly scheduled meetings during the next school year, 2021 to 2022.
Thank you, President Ryan. So the calendar that the board has before them reflects a mirror image of the meeting dates for this year. And you'll note that we continue to have a single meeting in November, a single meeting in December, and a single meeting in April. Working with the board and board president, we will work to schedule strategic planning dates. Traditionally, they've occurred in August, November, and March.
Thank you. Any questions? This is an action item.
I move to approve the calendar as presented for board meetings next year.
Thank you, Mrs. Chung. Mr. Chang? Roll call vote. Mrs. Chung?
Aye.
Mr. Chan?
Aye.
Mrs. Chanlin, you will recuse yourself.
Okay, I will recuse myself.
Mrs. Ryan, aye. Student board member, Ms.
Aye.
Garamond. Thank you. Motion passed for the dates and calendared, please. 13C, this is for our Extended Learning Opportunity Grant. This is an action item. This is to extend learning opportunity is being presented for our approval. Dr. Lena Richter.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Sound check's good?
Yep.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board, student member, board member Vahini, Superintendent Dr. Wilson, and executive team. Tonight, I present to the board a request for approval of the Expanded Learning Opportunity Grant. Pursuant to Assembly Bill 86, and in conjunction with the in-person instructional funding, the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant provides funds intended to expand in-person instructional time and provide academic and social emotional supports and interventions to address barriers to learning and accelerate student performance and progress. These are one-time funds that are available to local educational agencies through August 31st, 2022. Grant funds are portioned based on the district's local control funding formula, plus $1,000 per homeless student enrolled in the 2021 school year. If approved, San Marino would be scheduled to receive an apportionment of approximately $1.7 million, 50% of which would be received in May or June, at this point probably June, if approved, with the remaining 50% released in August. As a condition for receiving the grant funds, the plan must be adopted by the local governing board at a public board meeting on or before June 1st, 2021, and later submitted to the County Office of Education within 5 days of adoption. As part of the grant and pursuant to AB 86 Ed Code, identify 7 supplemental instructional and support strategies that may be supported by the ELO, the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant Funds, and requires districts to use these funds only for any of the following purposes. And these are all outlined in the plan that was shared in the board packet as well as in the weekly board memo this past week. The 7 instructional support strategies are extended instructional time, accelerated progress to close identified or existing achievement gaps, integrated supports to address barriers to learning, community learning hubs, supports for credit deficient students, additional academic services for students, and lastly, trainings for school staff on strategies, including trauma-informed practices to engage pupils and families. The Expanded Learning Opportunity Grant was developed in accordance with Senate Bill 86 and fulfills all the requirements of the grant application. As such, staff is recommending approval by the board of the grant for the Expanded Learning Opportunity Grant plan as proposed.
Thank you, Dr. Richter. Were there any comments or questions?
Yeah, Dr. Richter, I have a question. Grant if fund may be used for, in the news or it said community learning hub. Can you explain to me what we can do apply for the community?
Community learning hubs can look very different in different ways. It could be small groups or learning pods set up for students to supplement learning or mitigate any type of learning regression. It could be set up to provide students with supplemental instruction. It could be used to provide supplemental instruction for English language learners, for foster and homeless students. It's basically a learning hub that would provide additional supplemental instructional support for students within the community.
But students have to be running on unified school.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, that is correct.
Did you have a question? Mrs. Chong.
Yes. So I just had a question. I said that description of how students will be identified, needs of students assessed, that SMUSD will be utilizing a variety of strategies and assessments. I was wondering in what capacity is there for a parent who might feel that they might need additional supports for their child? What would be those mechanisms and processes that a parent might be able to access some of these services?
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, you're asking how would a parent reach out to the teacher or the district site administration to inquire about possible supplemental supports or services? That would typically be communicated from the site, either the classroom teacher, the counselor, or the site administrator, but parents are always welcome to reach out on their own on behalf of their child. Typically those requests are communicated through parent conferences, through progress monitoring reports, through progress reports at the secondary level. So there's a variety of ways that parents are always kept abreast of their students' progress, but parents are also always welcome to reach out to the teachers or the administration to inquire about progress.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Richter. I just wanted to say that the grant and the proposal is excellent. I love the fact that you include programs and people. There's a focus on ELA as well as math. I love the component of the professional development as we move forward through this pandemic, because I think if there's one thing we learned regarding distance learning is that we have a lot to learn.
Absolutely.
And to get up to speed. In particular, I thought that it was really important that you stated we needed to have data and to have progress monitoring. And I really like the fact that we included not only appropriate support and supplemental instruction, but that it delineates a multi-tier framework that based not only on our research-based intervention, but it integrates all of the support services for our students and how we address that in terms of academics as well as social emotional needs. So thank you for that. I really appreciated that. All right, if there are no other comments, we have a motion or an action item.
I second.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Chang and Mrs. Chong. Mr. Chang? Aye. Thank you. Mrs. Chong?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And our student board member?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next, 13D, this is resolution number 20. The resolution authorizes the approval of the borrowing of funds for fiscal year 2021 to 22. This is requesting the issuance of tax and revenue anticipation notes, known as TRAN, for the district by the Board of Supervisors of the County of Los Angeles. This is an action item. Dr. Linda Delatorre.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Board Member Bikini, executive team, and Dr. Wilson. This evening, I am requesting that the district, the Board of Education approves resolution number 20, which allows the district to take advantage of the Los Angeles County Schools pooled financing program for the 2021-22 school year. The tax and revenue anticipated notes helps the district manage its cash flow throughout the school year. And it is one of the most affordable ways for us to be able to borrow the money that we need for this purpose. So with that, the district is respectfully requesting approval from the Board of Education.
Thank you, Dr. Delatorre. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
As I know, as usual, right? Last year we also did this action. But to speak about the California government budget, so for the funding issue, and then the cash flow, is that they are not, they don't make any change, or maybe they can be much better because they collect a lot of tax.
Yeah.
So do you think that so far for the cash flow issue, is that they distribute the fund on time, or they delay?
Yeah, so for the upcoming year, we're still going to have deferrals. They're not going to be as much as they were originally anticipated to be, but we still will have deferrals. And the larger issue is that in a small school district such as San Marino, we don't get any concentration grant monies. We get some supplemental, but not much due to our unduplicated count. And therefore, we do need some kind of mechanism to be able to borrow a TRAN in order to address our cash flow issues. And I think that will continue to exist in San Marino as it has in the past. So every year, whether it be me or someone else coming in, they will be asking the board to approve the borrowing of a TRAN. And that is it's just a thing that we do every single year to be able to manage our cash flow efficiently and effectively. And yes, we do this every year, Mr. Chang.
Thank you, Mrs. Shaw.
I know that in the past we do this, and it is a cash flow problem. Districts all over the state are struggling and using these TRANs despite pleas to the governor to simply pay their bills to us. But I do have a question. I know we've done this in the past. Have we ever encountered any issues with repayment of our TRANs?
Never.
Okay.
No, we always repay the TRAN on time. and in full. So we've never had any issues where we have not been able to repay the TRAN as anticipated.
And I don't see a number here, and I'm assuming because that number is still fluid as we figure out what our actual needs are.
Yes.
So I'm assuming, so is it safe to say that we will be borrowing the lowest amount that we need to
Oh, yes.
borrow?
We're going to be very conservative, and certainly we will be we'll be watching the budget very closely and our revenues, and we will only borrow the amount of money we absolutely need to manage our cash flow and no more.
So this is not a result of any irresponsibility in our spending or even COVID. This is just something that the district is subject to because of the way the state funds us.
Yes.
In terms of the timeline, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That is exactly correct. Yes. Thank you for asking that question.
Thank you.
This is an action item.
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. Thank you, Mrs. Chong. Mrs. Chanlin. Thank you, Mr. Chang. Mrs. Chong.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan. Aye. And our final.
Oh, aye.
Thank you. All right. Next, Board Superintendent. This is a discussion item. Are there anything on your docket?
Yeah, I just want to say, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chang, go ahead. Yeah, I was just going to say, in my haste to do my report, I failed to mention our principals, and I'm going to get beat up tomorrow by those people. Our principals are amazing. You know, to actually have a switch with 3 out of 4 principals at a site in 1 year is really unthinkable. And yet these 4 just did an outstanding job this year, you know, nurturing our communities, really connecting with kids and the teachers and everybody in their community. And they just led with distinction in a really difficult year to be a principal. Mr. Topalian, for sure, I mean, first year as a principal, and he steps into this atmosphere, but all of them did just a fantastic job. So I don't want to leave without saying thank you to our wonderful principals and assistant principals for the job they did this year. And
Yeah. Woo-hoo.
yeah, with that, thank you.
Yeah. And with the reopening of schools safely, that's a phenomenal job.
Absolutely.
With that, I am going to
I don't know,
adjourn.
Mr. Chang might have had a
Mr.
little.
Chang wanted something?
Dr. Wilson, I'd like ask Jiang Lu to update about the registration for the coming semester.
For the upcoming year?
Yeah, coming year, yeah.
Specific to the first day packets and that kind of thing, or?
Update for the next weekly report.
Okay, for next time. You got it. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. And so with that, may I adjourn the meeting, please?